Welcome to the Brand Lab series from AE Marketing Group. This week, AE Marketing Group's CEO, Brian Walker, talks to Sophie Evanoff of Vanille.
So Sophie, welcome to the Brand Labs.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
So stories have been written about Vanille's croissants, that apparently they're the best outside of Paris. Having eaten croissants in Paris and in your shop, I can say that that's a true story. So what makes a good croissant?
You know, honestly, I think what makes the best croissant is in the baking. We definitely bake European standards, so we're taking a little bit further. The color is a little bit more golden and rich, which is something you don't see in a lot of American bakeries. And that's where the flavor is. And so that's what we do. We want to carry on the traditional French way of baking.
So let's talk a little bit about your background. Did you always know that you wanted to be a baker, or did you have the entrepreneurial gene and said someday I'm going to bake and own a business? Talk about your backstory.
So from an early age, I always knew I wanted a baking business. I loved baking. I loved, anything around pastry and dessert. And, what it signifies is everyone's happy around dessert. But it wasn't just the pastry, it was the business. I never fantasized or dreamed about being a chef or owning a restaurant. It was always some sort of business. And, when I was 17 looking into colleges, and my parents were like, go get a degree in business, because that's what you need to be learning if you're gonna run a business. And I just didn't take their advice. I was stubborn, I was scared, I didn't wanna follow my dream, and I just did my own thing. And college took a whole lot longer than it should have. But I found my way back to pastry school, and I moved to Chicago to attend the French pastry school. And I knew this was definitely the way I needed to go. And lo and behold, Vinny came into my life.
Vinny is a luxury brand. Talk about how you maintain that quality of a luxury brand, and talk about why that's important to you.
So a little background on Vinny. Vinny was an existing business that I acquired. And at the time, they only had 2 stores. They were a really small store, but they were founded by a husband and wife team who are awesome chefs. And they knew quality inside and out. And so when I acquired Vanille, the brand already had that quality reputation. So it was a matter of how do you take it to the next level, maintaining the quality and grow the presence. And so with the quality being intact, I really focused on the branding and the marketing and really taking aspects of other luxury brands and adapting it to pastry. And the one important thing about pastry is we're a luxury brand, but everybody can afford a $2 cookie. And so, you're not walking into Neiman Marcus spending $1,000 on a purse, but you can come in here and feel luxury and feel important with a $2 cookie.
So we'll talk more about the marketing later, but your brand obviously transcends baked goods. You have a number of different stores as well throughout Chicago here. Talk about that brand experience when you come into a Vanille shop.
So, I always say we're not just a bakery. We're not just selling you a cookie. You need to come in, and it's the experience, and it's enjoying the pastry and enjoying our team members and really feeling like you are special. We don't offer Wi-Fi in any of the stores, and that's done deliberately. When you come to a Vanille, you're here to enjoy and be in the moment and focus on the pastry and your surroundings and meet new friends, and whether it's a team member if you're alone or the person sitting next to you. And that's super important to us. And it's not just about the cookie, and the cakes. And even if you buy a cake from us, every pastry, we're involved in family traditions, holidays, and weddings. And that's important to me and to the brand, and we take that very seriously. So that's another reason why we're just not selling cakes. We know that we're a part of your family.
Well, as you know, my own family's been in some of your shops, and my work family's also been in some of your shops, and you've always been kind to us. You've created great experiences, and we love all the different pastries in the case. But it's quite a range. We talked a little bit about the croissants. You obviously had the macaroons and some other things as well. So what's your favorite? What's kind of the hardest to make actually as well, and what's the most popular?
I would definitely say the macaroons. They're very temperamental. We have to adjust the recipe based on the humidity and the weather. So, the quality is going to vary from January to August. When it's so hot and humid, we have to constantly change baking times, and you really need to be skilled and understand how to do that. And we're at a point now where we make, 5,000 a week, and the batch size is 3,000 versus when we first started it was 500, and it was much more controllable. So, we had growing pains as well. And we realized this is as far as we can go. We tried to max out even more, and the quality suffered. And so that's one thing. Yes, we have 4 stores, but we're still handmade. And we're not run by machines, and we're still doing things, really old-fashioned.
So you mentioned that the macaroons are a little temperamental, and you talked a little bit about being handmade. So as you think about this luxury experience, both in terms of the store, but also in terms of the taste and the senses, how do you kind of control that luxury brand experience throughout the whole supply chain and the enterprise?
It is tough because the more you grow, the more people are involved, and people want to do things their own way. So it's really up to us that we're first training our team members properly, and they know our standards and what's important. It's important for us to have documentation, and so everyone knows the Vanille way and that it's executed properly. We have several quality checkpoints, but like any business, it's run by humans, and there's going to be mistakes, and it's a matter of how we bounce back from the mistakes. Things are going to happen, and of course we've had, unfortunately, disasters, but we pride ourselves on customer service. So if we give someone, a bad cake or they're not happy, we're going to do everything in our power to make sure we fix that, but not only that, to the point where they want to come back. And that's what we do, is to go beyond what's expected.
So you just mentioned the Vinny way, and I've had the opportunity to also be behind the scenes a little bit in some of your shops. There seems to be a great culture here. Talk a little bit about the Vinny way and the people that work on your team.
We're all very serious, in what we do, and we love what we do, but it's so important that we have fun. We're a young team, a lot of girl power for sure. We have a disco ball in the kitchen, and we like to have fun. And it's when you're doing things, especially high volume production for kitchen staff, you need to have things that are fun and just create diversion, because we're all creative people, and you need a little bit of that outlet. The front of the house staff is a little bit different. They too, we like to have fun, but they're the face of the brand, and they're representing me. And I always tell everybody, you're an extension of me, and you have to be nice to people, and that's what we do. And if you don't like people, this really isn't, customer service is not for you. But it's training, it's our management team, and we're like a family, even though, we're 4 stores.
So we obviously talked a little bit about the luxury brand, a little bit around the experience, and obviously now the Vanille way. So I want to just come back to the customer experience for a minute, because anytime you walk into any of your locations, it's a pleasure. How do you continue to make sure as you grow? You talked a little bit about the training, but what are some of the things that you like to do in terms of creating some of these experiences for your customers?
It's really important that it's just basics too, and we're honest. We have, just an example, we have new staff. If they're working the front, they wear a training badge, and we tell them, if a customer comes up, say, this is my first week, this is my first day. And then that expectation kind of goes down, and then you realize, the customer is a lot more forgiving, and you can just have a dialogue. And that's basically what it is. It's also about, having integrity too. But customer comes in, we want you to feel like you're in my home, literally. All the stores is an extension of my home. And so if someone walked into your house, you're not going to ignore them. You're not going to be like, get your own water, help yourself. That's not what we do, and that's not how I was raised. Someone walks into your home, hello, how are you? What can we get you? What can we do? You want to make them leaving like they felt special, and they want to come back, and they want to bring their friends.
So beyond the good experience, what is interesting is each one of your locations kind of has its own character. Talk a little bit about that, why that's important. We're here in the Hyde Park location today.
So initially, the first store we built was Lincoln Park, and so that was kind of getting our feet wet, and what is the Vinny identity, and what are we creating? And so we created kind of the color schemes and the initial branding. We wanted a higher end bakery. The next store we opened was Lakeview East. And so each store is a little bit of the community, and I wanted each community to have its own bakery identity, but still with the Vinny brand. So if you walk into a store, it still feels like a Vinny, but it gives you a reason as a customer to go to each store, because each one is going to look differently. Each one is going to have a different, set of team members, but you're still going to feel that warmth and excitement and the same quality of the pastries. And I didn't want a cookie cutter brand. I didn't want to, have the same store, the same shop, the same layout, and just like, oh, it's another Vinny. No, it's another Vinny, and it's going to look different, and you're going to go in, and you're going to be impressed by what you see.
Well, as someone who lives over in the West Loop, I know that you're also active in the community in your location over there as well. So talk a little bit about the community. That's clearly something that's also important, both in terms of identity and experience, but also in terms of some of the nonprofit and other activity that you do.
For me personally, I think that's one of the most important aspects of being a business owner. And, I'm grateful that I've been given a platform where we can help so many people. And yes, maybe it's only by donating 100 cookies, to their event. And I'm not writing $10,000 checks, but, my mom always said every little bit helps. And it goes back to, we're not just a bakery. We are a staple in the community. We're a place for people to gather and enjoy, and we want to give back. The success of any business is really dependent on the community.
So we talked a little bit about some of the core fundamentals of a brand. We talked about your employees, we talked about your product, we talked about your service, and ultimately your customer experience, which are all fundamental elements in my mind to a good brand. And then next comes obviously the marketing component of that. I think if you get that first part right, the marketing gets a little easier. But I also know that you're a small business, so marketing can sometimes be a challenge. So talk a little bit about how marketing has helped you continue to grow and expand.
So yeah, definitely marketing is a challenge for us. And we're not shy of ideas. It's the time and how to execute and get the marketing out there. But it's really, in my opinion, marketing is really telling a story and what makes things unique and what makes your customers coming back and what makes them loyal and just having fun, a couple things we do here, for instance, our stud muffin line. So stud muffins, AKA cupcakes. A few years ago, actually, I was interviewed and I was quoted, Sophie Evanoff of Vanille will never make cupcakes. Well, I learned that lesson here with marketing. And so we developed a line of cupcakes, but we put a macaron on the side. It's kind of like a little hat. They all have boy names. They are all personal. Each stud muffin is named after someone I know personally. And that's kind of how it grew, and people love it. And we've had stud muffin naming contests around Valentine's Day for people to submit their story of why we should name a stud muffin after their loved one. So we also do a macaroon flavor contest every summer on Facebook, and it started years ago. We had zero budget. We just put it on Facebook, ask for suggestions, and then we pick 3 that we want to make, and then customers can come in and vote for their favorite, and then the winner gets a Vinny gift card. So it's really about having fun and things that are low budget for us, but on the same side, we do place, advertisements, especially for the wedding cakes, in the wedding industry, and certain, to try and be strategic with our marketing as well.
Well, I love using a little co-creation and creating some new products, or at least some flavors on some products with your customers. That's always a fun thing and shows, again, kind of extending the customer experience out. And as someone who has a horrible sweet tooth, a lot of cavities, I can say that your stud muffin is nothing like a cupcake. To call it that would be a disservice. So. So we've talked a lot about the Vinny brand, all the sweet treats that you have here, the customer experience, the employees. We touched just a little bit on your background, but I have the opportunity to know you better than a lot of our audience would. So you've been a very successful entrepreneur, a Goldman Sachs 10K alum like myself, James Tyree Business Award winner. So what's Sophie's secret ingredient?
It's taken me a long time to figure it out, but it's really to know your why and why you do this. And for me, it's not baking, it's not business, it's really just bringing people joy. And when I realized it's that simple and that's my motivation, everything makes sense.
So as we wrap up our conversation, what's next for Vinny, and what can our audience and what can your customers expect in the future?
We're just going to keep growing the brand. We are definitely Chicago homegrown and based, and we definitely need to get into e-commerce. That's an area, it's definitely my Achilles heel. Even though I'm millennial, I don't know technology as well as I should. So we're going to focus on that, and we're just going to keep doing what we do.
Well, Sophie, it's been great having you in the Brand Lab today. I loved hearing about your brand, your story, and obviously, as I mentioned more than once, my sweet tooth absolutely loves your products. So it was a pleasure talking to you today.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you for joining us in the Brand Lab today. We invite you to join us again as we continue our journey alongside today's most innovative and insightful brands. Until next time.